Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, Brittany Lynn Pyatt of Pyatt Promotions. Are you in a band? Are you a comedian? Do you need a little help with your social media, your branding, and so much more? Let's get into all of that with Brittany Lynn Pyatt. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about. And it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. I still haven't gotten that right yet. I'm so excited and thrilled today to bring onto the show the very cool, the amazing, the brilliant, the talented Brittany Lynn Pyatt. How are you doing today, Brittany?
I'm good. I didn't expect all of those adjectives.
I know
Now
no
I
one
feel very
does.
I feel very flattered now.
Good, good. That's what it's
Eh,
supposed to do, and, put you at ease.
yeah, no, because that's the one thing I have problems with is being at ease.
Now, are you saying that sarcastically, Brittany?
Like I do most things in my life, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I've brought Brittany on today because she is an aspiring radio DJ. You are a graduate of what's the college called again? How do you say that?
Conestoga.
Conestoga College.
Yeah,
Where's
Conestoga
that?
College. So its main location is KW, Kitchener-Waterloo. They have campuses everywhere, but the one that has the radio station is in the Dune campus in Kitchener. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Well, you do have such a great radio voice. It's so
Thank
cool.
you. Can you help me get a job with that?
Well, we're
You can
trying, right?
only set you can only send so many demos in.
I know, right? And it's such a crazy time right now. And that's kind of one of the topics I want to talk with you about is how, well, a lot of people are being laid off. Pretty much
Yeah,
every day, there's more stations being closed. Here in Ottawa, it happened just the other day again. Long
yeah,
time stations are being closed. And so if you're in this industry, it seems like you're almost being pushed into the podcast market, uh, or something
yeah.
like it.
Well, when we were in school, we kinda learned that you have to have a side gig, because you need that extra income and everything because not necessarily do you get a radio announcer job unless you, like, spam low markets, so very small towns, mostly out of province, which is something that I kinda wanted to do that, but there's some towns in Canada that I looked into going, "I don't think I wanna live there for 6 months." Um, but yeah, we are encouraged, like, we didn't just do radio, we did podcasting as well, we did marketing and sales, promotions, all that kind of stuff, so that we can do other stuff than just radio.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, and I mean that's good that they did that. But I mean it's just like I have friends that, I know people they used to work at like TSN, people who used to work all kinds of major media and now, it's not available anymore. At least the jobs aren't. And so it's good that they focused on the advertising and all that kind of stuff with you. And yeah, so it gosh, and your music of preference is rock music, right?
I call myself polyamorous. I don't I don't label myself to one genre, but, like, definitely people associate me with the alt rock verse, but I also will dance to Taylor Swift in my spare time too, like, I have no shame when it comes to my music tastes.
Okay, good. I'm a lot like that myself, I
Yeah.
I I feel like I fit best in the rock world, but yeah, you could catch me in my pajamas dancing to some music, some
Oh,
Swifty.
yeah.
It happens, I think. And you were talking about like maybe not wanting to live in certain or going to certain towns, and it reminds me of when I graduated from Algonquin here in Ottawa for TV broadcasting, and I was going around and I went to North Bay and for a Kojako interview, and I just remember thinking like, if I get this job, what am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing here. I don't know anyone. It's just this little town, and yeah, it was kind of scary.
Well, I mean, I've never had an issue. I don't wanna say fitting in because I've always had an issue fitting in. I've never had an issue adapting to, like, the local scene no matter where I am, so I call myself, like, that's my tagline, "I'm your local girl," because I will try to go out there. I'm an extrovert, so if you're putting me in, like, a one-bar town, I'm gonna be friends with everybody at that bar in, like, a week. Just give me that time. It gives me something to do. So, I
Awesome.
don't know.
So you're a people person. You get along with people, you like having a conversation.
Oh, yeah. I talk way too much for who I am as a person,
See,
but it
you're
helps.
you're perfect for radio. Like, that's what you're describing is perfect for radio, and,
I know.
and for podcasting and for all this stuff, like, and yeah, the fact that you could just put yourself at ease, talk with certain people, it's a talent, that's a skill set, and I feel like in today's world, a lot of little things like that, they don't appreciate it as much in today's world. They just look for pieces of paper that say
Yeah.
you paid lots of money.
Well, not just that now, with the world with social media and how it is, I can't just like, it's really hard to break out into the market if you're not putting yourself out there in social media, so it's not just what can I do via my demo reel, but it's also, hey, what are my numbers like? Do I have a lot of followers? Do people engage with me a lot? Do I engage with them a lot when it comes to social media? Or am I just kind of in the background letting them do their thing? And that's another thing that people really look into now, which is that content creation. It's not enough just to be good behind a microphone. You got to know, hey, we got to post to Instagram for your show. So, what are we gonna post? What are we gonna do that's fun, that's captivating to your audience? It's very little to do with behind the mic now, which is kind of sad.
It's so true. And yeah, because I did have some involvement for like 4 years with a rock station here in Ottawa and got to become really good friends with the people that were working there behind the scenes, behind the mics, everything. And everything you just said, they say. Like and like one of their DJs like last week made a post saying like, when did I have since when did I have to be a content creator? I thought I just got to sit here, like,
Yeah,
I thought I got to
and
make my plan and
I'm finding that a lot of DJs now are finding that one thing that they can do that they could just do every day. Like, there is somebody out in Kitchener, he does the questions of the day. And that's his, like, contribution in a way, so now there's all these people who follow him, and they wait for that question of the day, you know? So, that's also what you wanna kinda do, is just find that one thing that works for you. My thing was the I'm the musical encyclopedia, so back before TikTok, like, did that whole what was it, the universal music band from TikTok? So, a lot of my videos got muted. But I would do that
oh,
whole, like, not everybody knows these songs from 2004, and I'm standing there going, "I know all these songs." So that was my thing, is that I listened to all the music.
huh.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean that's you're so right, and it's similarities again to bands, like finding that one thing that you can sell to people that they just are attracted to, or the old school thinking, bringing that into the new school thinking. Like you were saying, like a question of the day. Like it reminds me of David Letterman and doing like his top 10 and how
Mhm.
everybody has turned this into, or before him, whatever. I'm not claiming he invented that, but I'm just saying, there's all these that's old school, thinking of little ways to do segues or little events, Wheel of Fortune. They're basic ideas, trivia, all that kind of thing. It's not like it's complex. It's just you kind of have to re-roll it. And it reminds me of like board games, of like how
Yeah.
at one point in time people started making board games. And it's too bad because they're really fun and creative. And then like computers and technology came along and like screwed that game up. But yeah.
Yeah, we're also in the radio world, they're also dealing with Radio GPT as well.
Ah.
So that's Chat GPT, but for radio stations, and I we decided one day to listen to one, and the only thing you don't really feel is that personality between with the announcer, like, the announcer's kinda just running off doing everything because it's an AI announcer, so you don't have that relatability, you don't have that kind of thing, so now it's just like, well, are you gonna listen to Radio GPT, your radio, or just Spotify or Apple Music, because then you get all that music without the announcer.
The GPT is so scary in so many ways, but like, I mean, I think about immediately what comes to my mind is like John Tesh and like his
Yeah.
radio show and how massively widely popular it is. And like all they have to really do is take hours of his footage because they literally have thousands now of hours and they'll be able to assemble like a John Tesh AI for the
Mhm.
future. And like some of that thing you're talking about, that humanness, they'll be able to trick us. They'll be able to bring some of that forward, like Morgan Freeman's voice, if they do
Yeah.
that. Like, it's kind of worrisome to me. And yeah, like, as long as it sounds like a robot talking to us, then at least we have some edge over it. But
I think we'll still be a little bit of ways away. However, I'm totally here for all the new horror movies that they're making about AI because that's kinda how I feel about it. But I'm also like, I've also tried to do the AI image capturing for, like, if I'm doing brand work and all that stuff. It is helpful, I just don't use it as my primary tool because then I'm screwing myself over.
yeah, 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 exactly. And people talk about using how, the Beatles release Now and Then, and they're like, oh, that's like John's voice, like, and George's voice enhanced with AI, this and that. And I'm like, yes, the AI like pulled the vocals way up off of like a
Mhm.
horrible cassette tape, but they were still there. And yeah,
Yeah.
it filled in the gaps and it like took everything there and was like, okay, I get what this is supposed to do. This is how it's supposed to be. But when AI gets to that level where, like you're saying, it's a horror movie, and that's fun. Are you a horror fan? Like, you're into that?
Oh, 100%, and let's be real here, AI horror movies have been around since, like, for a while now, like Smart House, 2001: Space Odyssey, like, all of these people were predicting it, and we were all just like, "Nah, it's fine," and now here I am trying to get started in a market where if I don't have, like, that one unique thing about me, like, what makes my podcast different than all these other podcasts and or what makes my demo different than this person's demo, well, then we're screwed, like, it's just that's just what it is. I'm screwed, and I'm like, "Well, great." Like, we've been
Yeah.
warned, and now we're just letting it happen, and so I'm trying to see it's gonna be interesting for me personally as somebody trying to get into the business and into the industry to see how the people running it are going to adapt, either, like, use it to their advantage or just, like, promote to the people that absolutely cannot stand AI and go, "We are humans only," kinda thing.
I think it might happen. Like, I definitely think in the future now there will be a humans only movement, and it's so nuts to talk about. But it's just people are gonna start being like, "Oh, they took our gerbs," South
Yeah,
Park
yeah, they
style,
took
right?
their gerbs.
Took the
Uh,
gerbs, and so everyone's just gonna be losing their mind, and I get it, and
and I mean, yeah, let's be real here. Matt Stone and Trey Parker predicted too, as well as The Simpsons. They are gonna take our jobs. Like it's the people from the future that came back and
yeah,
took their jobs. So
yeah,
like obviously, and yeah, it sucks when you're in the creative industry because it's already hard enough to
yeah,
be out in the creative industry, and now
yeah,
we're dealing like, I feel sorry for graphic designers, like, anybody who does visual arts. Now
mm.
we have to deal with, what I call laptop producers, because then you're taking work out of audio engineers because everybody can do it from their laptop, and how many times have we heard a song where it's actually not real instruments, it's just the MIDIs?
It's nuts. Yeah,
Yeah, and while I commend the people who are creative enough to use it, me who was a musician growing up and wants to be in this industry is like, "Great, now what do I do?"
yeah, no,
And you kinda just don't wanna
exactly.
work towards it.
Yeah, and the thing with music is, right, like, it's so hard for musicians today to make money or get ahead or whatever, cut through the 100,000 new songs a day on Spotify. It's, it's super difficult to do what you're talking about, that standing out, what's your one thing, and then
And
along comes AI and it says, "Oh, I'll do it. I'll do
yeah,
it."
with bands too, trying to get out and get started, because I did do an internship with RPM, promotions to do social media work because that's something I am very interested in. I realize, like, when they're looking at new people, and I don't think it's just them, I think it's a lot of promotional people, but they look at your Spotify streams and think, "Okay, if we promote them, what are we gonna get out of it? Are we gonna get what we're putting in?" All this kind of stuff, and, I thought in my mind, I wanna be helpful to musicians to be like, "I'll help you get onto Spotify, and let's figure out how to promote you through Spotify." But Spotify's not gonna give you the money, and that's just the realistic aspect of it. It has just more, opportunity of access for other people.
Yes,
Yeah,
and like you were saying, it impresses the radios now. Like it's not the main or the only factor, but it's a big deal for radio stations when they're looking at what they're going to add. If you don't have any Spotify plays, it's probably not getting looked at. And it's interesting you talk about RPM and working with a promotions company because you're totally right. They're looking at the whole package with the band. They're not just looking at a song. I've had several bands message me and say, "Why won't this company work with me? Why won't this company work with me?" And it's that I think this song is great. I said, maybe the song is great, but is your social media up to par? When's the last three shows you did? Were they out of town? Were they good shows? Uh,
yeah.
all these things, like you're talking about Spotify numbers. Do you have a website? How do you present yourself? Because if you're not doing this properly, then maybe even if the song is good, they're still going to say, sorry, I just don't think it's worth our time. We just
Which
can't.
sucks because,
Yes.
like, 40 years ago, and maybe even, like, just, like, 20 years ago, you would be a band, you would do a demo, you would submit the demo. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, okay, let's try it again. But now you can go back and trace everything and go, "Okay, well, do they wanna put the work in? They wanna do anything like that?" So, for me, if I do have, like, my Pyatt promotions, and, I wanna help out not just musicians, but businesses in general, and, like, bands of just like, "Hey, I will help you with your social media. I will run your social media. I will do what I can." Like, and, but because I know your numbers will start at 0, and that's the unfortunate thing, and it's gonna be long, it's gonna be a process, and you gotta trust me on this process because 'cause I'm on your side, I'm your cheerleader. Just let
Yeah.
me help you because I understand, like, I wanna help you get to the point where you can go to these bigger companies and go, "Hey, I wanna go on the radio now, we're ready," kinda thing.
That's awesome. And I think bands listening right now should really consider that because of your education. And like I said, I think you're suited to this. Talk to me about your music in the beginning. So let's go all the way back in time. Where's Brittany Lynn Pyatt born?
Kitchener.
Okay.
Yeah, extremely
And
musical family too.
okay.
Yeah.
And so let's say you're like 3 or 4 years old, maybe five. What's your earliest musical memory?
Uh, I think so apparently when I was a baby and I was in the hospital, like, back when I was born, Colin James got me to stop crying, like, the music of Colin James, and then I think I was 6 or 7, and we were going camping, and my brother and my stepfather were in the other car, and it was just my mom and I, and she would make, a CD, like, mixtape or whatever. She popped it in, and it was the same Colin James song, and I talked about how I really liked it, and she told me that story about how Colin James just I always just loved Colin James, and because my mom was a singer-songwriter and my dad's this amazing guitarist, but he taught himself by ear, like, it's just always it's like it's in my blood kind of thing of just always being around music, but that, I think, is my first that and listening to Amanda Marshall, her Tuesday Child album that came out when I was, like, 1. My mom played that album a lot. Actually, so did the rest of my aunts. Like,
I
so,
remember it quite well. Do you is your voice like your mom's voice?
I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, she sings higher than me, I know that, but we're all altos.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
I go more around the tenor range too, though. Like, I sing a lot of songs that were originally by men because I can hit the lower notes. But I think that's also because I drink beer and smoke weed. Like, I think, like, it has affected my voice. Ever since my
Oh,
mom
yeah.
stopped drinking, she was able to hit the higher notes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It
So,
does affect your voice for sure.
yeah.
So when you were growing up, do you have memories of, like, your mom going performing places or your dad?
She doesn't perform, but she does have a bunch of CDs that she did, and, her best friend from hi one of her best friends from high school, he runs a recording studio down in Newmarket, so when I was in college, she actually got to go down there, and he actually, like, mass produced her songs to
Huh.
make them actually sound more full than just her and her guitar and the
Huh.
way she originally had it recorded back in, like, the
Cool.
'80s. But, yeah, my dad doesn't play anywhere, he just likes to play at home. And then I grew up in a musical family, like my stepfather's family, it would my grandfather, like his dad, taught a lot of the musicians in Kitchener-Waterloo.
Oh, wow.
So, when it came to the technical part of music, I grew up with that of like so when I was 8, I played the violin, and then I was 12 when I started playing the trumpet, and I learned how to do all of that through my grandfather's techniques of how he taught his students. So I got lucky because he was like, he has now since passed, but he was retired at that time, and I got to have some of his tricks? So
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm sorry he's gone now, but that is amazing that he gave you, you got to pass that gift on to you.
Yeah.
And, like, playing trumpet and violin, you said at 8 violin, 12 trumpet. How good did you get at those? Were you pretty good?
Trumpet, apparently, I was a natural at. I had no idea. I was in Air Cadets, and I joined the band.
Mm.
And I've only was doing it for, like, a year, but I ended up going to, like, Camp Blackdown, which was, like, a military base and everything for band camp. So when I used to make the joke that I went to band camp, everybody makes that joke with me, and I go, "Yeah, but it was militarized." So very different. But, like, I was a natural at the trumpet. I was able to play Danny Boy, within my first 2 months of, like, playing, and a lot of it is credited to the fact that my stepfather who and my grandfather, who also played the trumpet very well, taught me those techniques so that since I was a natural, I can hone them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, let's go through, like, what music were you into when you were, like, 13, 14?
First concert ever, Hannah Montana, Best of Both Worlds, tour with the Jonas Brothers opening. I am a Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus fan, and I will die a Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus fan. Everything that's going on with her, I love her. But I'm also a huge pop punk kid. So, like, Blink-182, Sum 41, Avril Lavigne was, like, my second concert was Avril Lavigne, and it was that same year. Like, I was always, like, the kinda girl that while my brother was listening to Billy Talent and System of a Down and Disturbed, I was right beside him listening to Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato and all of these other people.
Huh. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus, I bet you could nail some of her songs. She's like the
Oh,
queen of.
I sing Flowers when I'm at the karaoke bar and I'm angry at a man. Like
It's funny because when I had my cousin's little boy here on the show, Daxon, and he was like raising money for charity, and he's like 5 years old, and like I asked him like, "What's your favorite song? What's your favorite song right now?" And he's like, "Flowers, Miley Cyrus," and his mom was like, he sings it everywhere,"
You
you
know
know.
what? My brother, he was happily married and all that stuff. I went over to his place and he said, "You know what? I listened to a song." He's like, "I like Dua Lipa," because his wife is a huge Swiftie, huge like pop music, but he got her onto Hailstorm and like Evanescence, all that kind of stuff. And she introduced him to Demi Lovato. So, and my brother went, "You know what, Brittany? You're right. Miley Cyrus does have a great voice." And I was like, "Thank you. It took how many years to finally get you to get it? She's
Oh, that's
amazing."
that's so funny. I
He's like,
mean,
"I'm just used to Party in the USA and the crap that you played." I was like, "Yeah, and?"
Party in the USA was catchy as hell. Okay.
Yeah, she played my song. The Britney song was on. Like
My
like
gosh. It was I mean, I've always thought, like, yeah, she was pretty talented. I don't think she was given any, like, easy way, like, okay, so, yes, her dad, achy breaky heart. but she's way more talented than him. She's
Her
in my opinion.
godmother's Dolly Parton. She's just set up for greatness. Um,
Yeah.
but you gotta understand too, like, she did grow up in the industry. She was 13 when she played Hannah Montana, and it would put a strain on her relationship. Now she is the youngest person to be inducted into the Disney Hall of Fame, and that was, I wanna say, a couple months ago, and she even said, "I credit this to Hannah and to all of her fans because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you," and, like, to quote Hannah, "This is the life," which is one of, like, the Hannah Montana songs, and all of us, like, girls who grew up at, like, that age are just screaming alongside her and cheering her on because she talks about how she grew up in this industry, so when she went through that crazy blonde-haired phase and went to that different party music, look at how old she was. That was, like, her going through puberty, and we're all just sitting there and watching, Do you not
Yes.
remember how you were in your early 20s?
Oh,
I
yeah.
I was stupid. I'm still stupid, but I was
Oh, yeah.
stupider. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, in your early 20s, yeah, I was
they give
very
you too
dumb.
many passes.
I was not bright at all in my early 20s. But I mean, Hannah Montana, superstar, the Disney conglomerate, they're just
That Disney conglomerate, okay?
yeah,
That, Lizzie McGuire, you got Hilary Duff. So I grew up with Hilary Duff, I grew up with Hannah Montana, I grew up with the beginning of Selena Gomez and the beginning of Demi Lovato, like, and you have to understand me being, I think I was, like, around 11 when these people just started getting famous, and, like, they're only, like, 3 years older than me, essentially. They are 3 years older than me. So growing up, who's being a music lover, absolutely loving dancing to these songs, you kind of think to yourself, "I could do this one day, and I wanna be like these guys, and I wanna be like, having this life and all that stuff." And for girls like me, it kind of made us think that our dreams are achievable, and you don't get that a lot now. 'Cause there's
yeah.
too much content creators, but we grew up with all these role models, and yeah, Demi Lovato had her issues when it came to substance abuse and everything, but she has since gone farther from that and has always talked openly about it, which is another good thing that came out of that era, is that you're able to open and talk about the issues you faced,
Hmm.
and so I
Interesting.
commend all of them for it.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Being a successful child star and coming through the industry, if you're able to keep your head about you, if you're able to come out of it and be on the other end and you're okay, it's like pretty amazing. And, because we have the examples, the sad examples of the people who didn't make it and
Yeah.
they did have their lives, kind of tarnished or
We're also
destroyed.
kinda looking at Britney Spears in that sense too, of how much we loved her growing up, and now we're just seeing what happened to her, and it's kind of devastating, to be honest, because I loved Britney Spears growing up too, like, I'm still a huge Spice Girls fan, I'm still a huge Backstreet Boys fan, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and it's unfortunate that they went through this really harsh time, even Lindsay Lohan and Ashley Simpson. Lindsay
Amanda
Lohan.
Bynes.
Oh, yeah, but Lindsay Lohan came out, she dropped, the song "Rumors," and then she peaced out, and I'm like, "You know what? Rumors, banging song." I just listened to before I was going to the shower, I had Ashley Simpson's Boyfriend playing still, and I owned, like, my first CD I ever played back to back was her album Autobiography, and I still know every song and every word and all of that stuff, and she got the shit end of a stick too, because
Oh,
look at
yes.
how her father treated her versus her sister, and then you had the SNL mishap of the, Milli
The backing
Vanilli,
track.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which is really interesting, because a lot of people do it, and, it's just sort of like they get away with it. If you
yeah,
it's like if you execute the plan correctly, it doesn't matter, but if you fail at the plan, boom, that's it. And
and these are the
yeah,
girls that I grew up, like, listening to, and it's crazy to know that all of this stuff happened in the background, and honestly, when I play their music more than I play any new pop music, because I find it a little bit more relatable, I don't know how. Like, I
yeah.
don't find any of the music now, like, it's not to say that there is no good music now, because I do have music that has been released this year on my, like, Spotify, all that stuff, but something about it is just so disconnected
Mm.
from, and I'm very much a connections person when it comes to my music, and that's why I wanna work with musicians, because 'cause I've never had the talent to write my own stuff, and I also never had the drive to write my own stuff. but I commend musicians who are able to write what they know, write from the heart, all that stuff, and if I can help them, let me help them, because like, even if I can't do it, I know I can help, and, like, I want those songs to be like, "Hey, I just played this song, and I can't believe I was at their album release, like, 20 years ago, and it just popped up on my phone," you know? Every musician deserves to have that moment, not just these people I grew up listening to.
Yeah. You know, a lot of art is dedication, and the younger you start and take it seriously, and it's the same thing with professional sports, right? Like a lot of NHL players, they started skating when they were 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah, they put
And,
skates on before they put on running shoes.
right? And then
Yeah.
a lot of performance kids, for yourself, you were surrounded by it as a kid. I was surrounded by it as a kid. I was put into plays all the time when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I wanted to be, like one of those Disney kids. I thought that was
That
amazing,
was the high life and everything,
right? Right?
before that, really bad documentary came out.
Well, I mean, Macaulay Culkin was like my
Yeah,
hero. I mean, when that he's like pretty much me and him are around the same age. So, I mean, that was just seeing
and
him.
he's happily married to a former Disney star.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So,
And
good for him.
he came out on the other side okay. And it's really interesting that one of the people he gives credit to for that is Michael Jackson. And
Interesting.
and the reason being because his parents tried to like control his fortune, and that's when Michael had him over one on one, and Michael was like, "You should get a lawyer, and you should probably secure your money," and he did, and it's a
There's
big
a
deal.
book that, Jeanette McCurdy, who was Sam on iCarly, she wrote a book called I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead, and it's a book basically about how her mom was the one who forced her into acting on iCarly, all this kind of stuff when she was a kid, and then basically spent all her money, and there were these accounts that were created to protect child actors, money and everything like that, and they were supposed to go into these accounts. Well, her accounts were dry, bled dry, like, no one signed the paperworks, no one signed anything like that, so when she got out of acting, she had nothing because her mom put her in debt when then her mom passed away,
Ugh.
and it was all about, like, a narcissistic parent and, like, growing up with that kind of stuff, but, that's kind of what Macaulay Culkin was kinda going through. It's
And
like control
yeah,
the money and control everything. I don't think my mom would ever do that to me because when I was 12, no, 11, around that age, I started doing modeling for Bonnie Togs.
hmm,
So if anybody remembers the National Canadian Kids Store, Bonnie Togs, they probably remember me, at 11 years
superstar,
old. I don't wanna talk about how many years ago that was, but,
superstar.
like, giant posters of me just, like, wearing their jeans and shirt, and I had, like, a little thing, but I remember my mom opened a bank account for me and was like, "We're putting your money into this bank account," and
Ah.
that's how it was. She never It's not like I became a runway model or anything,
Yeah,
but
it
still.
it's so true. I mean, look at there's these amazing stories like of Hilary Swank back in the day, her mom and her leaving and her dropping out of high school very young, going to live in a trailer out in the until she made it. And it's like, yeah, but how much of that was her mom?
Yeah.
When you think back to it. And then there's the twins that had their show on Disney Channel, the guys, and they
Yeah, The
all
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, thank you very much.
right, and exactly, right, and,
Yeah.
they talk about one of them anyways talks about their mother, and about how she pushed them in, and he won't act anymore. So, like,
No,
what
he's not acting, but he is married to, like, a gorgeous model and everything, like, they're,
yeah,
like, couple it's ridiculous how much of couple goals they are, but, yeah, but his brother still acts too, but his brother was in more stuff than he was anyway. Like,
yeah,
his brother was in Friends, Big Daddy, all that kinda stuff.
and what's that other show that was, like this is kind of old school Disney Channel, but it was, like, the 3 brothers,
Was a
and
smart guy,
no, I
where the
don't think
little brother went to the high school with his 2 older brothers.
no, it's not that one. It's one where gosh, it'll come to me.
The show Jonas, about the 3 Jonas brothers going to high school.
Jo No, Joey is one of the brothers, though. Joey is one of the oldest brother in this show, and, anyways, they talk a lot about their mom as well, how she's amazing and everything, but she's the
Yeah.
reason that they got to have their career, It's like you do need to have certain things in your corner to succeed in this industry as a child, and most people would not agree to it. Most
No.
people would not be cool with it. And so that's the one thing about the entertainment industry I always remind myself when I'm not succeeding or getting places is sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm not supposed to be there. Maybe that's a bad
Success
situation.
is measured by other people's success a lot these days, and I don't think it should. Like, if you are able you wanna be a musician, if you're able to live off of you doing gigs and all that stuff, then congratulations, you're a musician, that's a
Mhm.
success. You could
Yes.
only go up from there in that sense.
Yes.
And then you get the stadium, and then you get coked out, and then you lose all your fans, and then you hit rock bottom, and then you release a tell-all, and then you go right back up with a reunion, that's how it works.
You've got it all planned out. This is
That's how it
amazing.
goes.
This is amazing. All
I
the
grew
bands
up watching the '70s rock bands, I know how this is.
I mean, yeah, this is perfect. This is a great plan.
You snort
Uh,
your dad's ashes, and then you get a total blood transfusion, and therefore, it's like you never drank in your life. I think that's how Ke
wha
that's just Keith Richards, though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Pyatt Promotions, you will help bands figure out what they gotta do. Will you help a band figure out grant writing? Is that something you do?
Yes. So, here's the thing. I started Pyatt Promotions last year, so I'm still in, like, that new, like, kinda thing. I'm currently working on redoing my website to make it more, um inclusive to like, to more stuff, not just so, like, over the winter time, I was helping out with a comedy show kinda thing and helping get the word out of the comedy show. So my Instagram is more just these are the shows that I'm helping out with right now, and I'm gonna be posting about them as well as helping them out. Uh, however, so I have a lot of connections with people. If you need help with a grant, write your grant out, submit it to me. Yeah, I know I have grant writing experience because I've written some grants, and I also have an aunt who just retired from University of Regina, whose career was reading over grants and seeing who should get them and who shouldn't. So trust me, like I have another source too that I can always use as well and come back and be like, okay, this is what you need to do. If your band is looking for a graphic designer, I have a graphic designer that I could set you up with. And you would basically I do the managing stuff, all the boring stuff that musicians do not want to do, but know that they have to do it. That's what I'm here to do because I like doing the boring stuff. You wanna work on your brand? Okay, I'm my graphic designer also knows color theory, so we'll get together, we'll work on color theory. You need somebody to help you figure out what songs go on your album? I'm there, I'll figure out what songs go on your album because that's what I do, like, that's just what I've been good at since I was, like, a kid, is just knowing music. Whether or not that I had the drive to pursue performing, I've always been the person that just knew it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do. So if you need help with a new logo or you want somebody to run your social media or just help with posters or do anything, and you're looking for somebody that's not super expensive, that's what I'm doing. I wanna help you get to the point where you can book gigs out of town if you're not already doing so, where you can finally help you submit to these companies. If you're too scared to submit to them, call me your acting manager and I will submit to them because I already know how these emails go because I used to be the intern fielding out those emails
Mhm.
and sending
Yeah.
off the promising ones after listening to the music to everybody else, like, that was my job. So, yeah, I do have experience on all the little things that bands probably don't even think of when it comes to getting to that point. And when you get to that point, you either stick with me because you want to, or you just fly off and do your own thing because I can also help you and show you how to do those things if you don't have the money, but you want to learn what to do.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Hmm.
that's kind of what I try to do for Pyatt Promotions.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
if a band wants to like talk to you for like half an hour, whatever, can they block time off, or is there a consultation session they go through with you? Have you thought about how that kind of works out?
So if you can go on Facebook at Pyatt Promotions, you can go on Instagram, or you can go to www.pyattpromotions.com and there's like a little thing. Just give me a blurb about what you want and what you're looking for, and I'll try to make time and do like a one-on-one either in person if you're in town or, virtually like through Zoom. I will
Hmm.
set up the Zoom meeting, set everything up, and we'll just talk about more about what you're looking for, what your outcome is, like what is your goal, what are your short-term goals, and how can I like what do you want from me to help you? And I think that's the big question that a lot of people don't get is, okay, yeah, you want to do all this stuff. Okay, so how do you want me to assist you with getting to that? Because
Yeah.
then people go, well, I want social media work. Perfect. Okay, now we're narrowing it down. What kind
Right.
of social media work do you want done? Let's talk about it. So I'll block time off so that we can get more in depth as to what you want, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that sounds really helpful. And yeah, I think I'm like a lot of bands. I think should need help in these areas that we're talking about, and yeah, there's so much to tackle. Art, album work, artwork, and graphic design,
Not
and
just that, but, I'm also connected to audio engineers, so if you want somebody to listen to a song you wanna submit or think it's the right song or anything like that, whether it's a single or something like that, my audio engineer one of my best friends is an audio engineer, and he's also an award-winning audio engineer.
awesome.
So, it's me and him listening to the song and coming up together with notes on, "Hey, this is a great song for this kind of radio. If you're not going for this kind of radio, well, we gotta figure out something. If you wanna get on radio, you gotta go with the station we're telling you this song goes on. Like,
Mm,
or we'll just say, "You know what? It's not there yet to be a single, but it could be." And it's just honest to God feedback. Like, if I will never tell you your music sucks unless you don't know what you're doing and you just
yeah,
thought
yeah,
you
yeah,
would press record and go, and it's like, "Dude, what are you doing? This is obviously not gonna go anywhere."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Work on it. But
yeah,
yeah, so
exactly.
I do that too, which is also part of, like, building an album with somebody. You need somebody to go, "Okay, this song would be great in the album, but I don't think you should put it as track number 1." Put it in the middle and stuff like that, and that too is a whole other kind of skill set of knowing how to put an album in to make it a story. Because 'cause I'm very big into, like, my favorite album ever, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors.
Hmm.
Listen to that album without skipping or shuffling or doing any of that, you hear the entire story from the
Mm.
first, like, song to the last, and that's all it is. It's a giant story, and that's art in itself. So, yeah. So if I can't do the radio thing, I'm also doing this thing, but I would like to do the radio thing as well.
I
Like
think the radio thing goes hand in hand with what you're doing because, like, you're talking about the advertising, you're talking about the promotion, you're talking about all these things that basically go with radio, but also a band needs to know this stuff if they're gonna get on radio or if
yeah,
they're gonna work with these companies because these companies, a lot of them have now, like, of course, online presence, et cetera, et cetera. So it goes beyond radio. Um,
and,
but
I don't like the shadiness of the business. There is a lot
mhm,
of shadiness. Like, I'm not gonna name names or anything like that because I don't throw shade. I will just say in my experience, there's a song I heard from a band. I pushed it, and I even sent it to my audio engineer friend, and I said, "Tell me that this doesn't sound like that like, this sounds like '70s rock, like a hair band
yeah,
song." And he goes, "100%." I'm like, "It's not released yet." And he goes, "There's no way. Like, they had to have recorded on older stuff or something like that to get that sound." And I went, "I haven't heard something like this in so long." I pushed it to the company and I said, "This is amazing. It reminds me of the hair bands. If you put this on a rock station, you're gonna be surprised that it came out. Like, you would think, 'Oh, yeah, forgotten gem of the past.' It could fit easily right in." And I got declined. And then I no longer worked for that person anymore. And then but I still follow the social media because I still support everybody. And I see that they accepted it, that song out on blast, and used my words in the captioning of what the song is, and then was like, "Coming out to rock radio on Friday," and I just went, "You told me they had no place on rock radio when I was pushing for it." And I don't like that. I don't like, I honestly, I take it as I feel blessed that they're using my words and everything like that, even though I'm not getting the credit for it. So you can't. prove it, but I will
Man,
never do that to people. Like, if I like I was like,
man,
"This
oh
music
man.
is perfect," and you know what? I have that song on my phone, and I listen to it all the time. Like, there's no shade behind that, but that's the shadiness of this business where they went, "Oh, she doesn't have what it," like, I got told by those people that I didn't have what it takes to be in the music industry, and then to see this, like, a couple weeks later, I just went,
Yeah. See,
what do I do now?"
sometimes you run alongside people in the industry and they don't like it. They go, "You're supposed to be fumbling the ball right now. You're not supposed to be running alongside me." And the people, their ego will say, "Oh, it took me this many years to get here. It took me this many years to be a shot caller. Why do
But
you
that's like
think?"
viral videos. Okay,
See,
how many videos do you post in a day that get no traction, and then you post one video, and next thing you know, you have 100,000 views? It just happens.
maybe we're talking about the disconnect between radio and modern media. Like, we are talking about, like, why radio is dying, because they're not willing to accept new ideas. They're not willing to accept the fact that yeah, the viral thing has taken them out in many ways.
Yeah, and like with rock radio, and this isn't to say anybody who works for rock radio or programs the music for rock radio, or the people who listen to rock radio, but with rock radio, it's very much don't toy with our music kind of thing. Like, we listen to what we like, and so we'll have our hair band Saturdays or whatever, and we'll have all of these kinds of stuff, but it's all gonna be the same music, and it's very rarely gonna be something new unless that new is Nickelback or, you know, if Rush ever release a new album. You know, like, what I mean? It's
Oh
just
yes, oh I
if
know
it's a
what you mean.
Canadian band that's well known, you're not
Yes.
really gonna get anything new on rock radio. And with
No.
pop music and the pop radio stations, it's very rare that you get anything old, but you get the new from already viral songs.
Yes. Yeah.
So that disconnect is just, where do we meet in the middle so that these people can reach out to the audience that listens to the radio in their car?
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that radio has going for it right now, in my opinion, and television, is their longevity. Uh, Technology moves so fast these days, and well, through our whole lives, this has been the story of our lives, is, phones to cell phones to smartphones to blah blah blah, and that's everything in our lives with technology. So it's just like, where do people invest? Where do musicians invest, right?
Yeah.
And uh Spotify and these places like that, maybe they'll be around in 20 years, or maybe some conglomerate's going to come and buy it out one day. I
Yeah.
don't know. Um
I like to think, when they say don't put all your eggs in one basket. When it comes to this industry, you really got to figure out how to divvy up those eggs, because you have to think about, well, okay, well, like I said, what's your goal? And then what are your short-term goals? Because those short-term goals are going to help you reach that big one. So if your big one is that I want to perform, let's say just Budweiser stage, never said I want the headline, never said I want to open, whatever. Like in July, I got to see I Prevail in Hailstorm, which, by the way, amazing concert, absolutely incredible. But I remember I Prevail. They are from Michigan, and they started out with putting music up on YouTube, and they got hit with one viral song, "Blank Space" by Taylor Swift, and they hate performing that song now live, but they did anyway at the concert, and I recorded it, and I was like, "Hell yeah." Like, but they will credit it and say, "If it wasn't for this song, we wouldn't be here." So,
hmm,
are you gonna do music videos and do covers as well as putting in a mix of your own thing, and are you gonna put that on TikTok? Are you gonna put that on YouTube? And then, okay, so if you're gonna do that, how are you gonna promote it? Are you gonna create a Facebook page and cross share? Are you gonna do that on Instagram? Because that's what I do, is the okay, well, if you're gonna make a TikTok, put it on Instagram, I'm gonna have to be the one to tell you, remove the watermark or Instagram's gonna hide it. Because and, like, I've learned the statistics of this stuff, and I've learned when
yeah.
do you post, how do you post it,
Hmm.
and this is what bands should do, and bands should learn is, "Okay, I wanna get this song out there. What do I invest in?" Do I
Yeah.
invest in a local radio station that highlights local bands? One, yes. Reach out to
Mhm.
your local radio station. Do
Yeah.
that. If you don't wanna do that, I'll reach out to them for you. Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
reach out to them, but also put the word out on social media, and also maybe record a couple if you have the money to record the single, record it, get it produced, and make sure you do, maybe do, just a low budget music video. You don't need much to make a music video, and put it on TikTok and put it on YouTube, because 'cause I've found a lot of musicians through TikTok
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
absolutely incredible, and it's put your eggs into all
S
these different baskets. It's
Yeah.
just but do it in a way that you'll get those short-term goals knocked off.
Yeah. And like the shorts thing, like making short clips of your video, I think now is smart. Like because of the TikTok, because of Instagram, because of stories and all that stuff, it's like that's the way it's being consumed and that's how you hook people.
Yeah,
You throw your hooks in these shorts, you throw your hooks in these little clips and hopefully you bring people in. They go, "Oh, that's funny," or "Oh, that's good." And they come into it and yeah.
show you have personality. I will say
Mm,
this big time, personality above all else, because it's just one of the main things about selling yourself. If you are just deadpan and you have nothing to add, trust me, I know what being deadpan is like. I am fully deadpan. But I make a personality out of it, and that can be my thing, you know? "Oh, I love this band, and the lead singer, he's hilarious, and he also does this on the side, and apparently he's a really good cook." So,
ah,
maybe he'll have a video of him cooking while going, "Oh, yeah," when you're, on a break on tour and stuff like that, or a break from
yeah.
writing music. People want to be involved in your life, so make your life interesting. Even if you go, "Oh, hey, my day-to-day life." You wanna know what my day-to-day life right now is? I play the GameCube. Okay, I'm trying to 100% a game that I haven't played since 2005. Okay, that is, and you know what? I will make a TikTok of that when I 100% it. When I finally get that one thing, I will probably take a TikTok and make a TikTok and be like, "I did it. It's been almost 20 years, but I did it."
Heck
And that's your
yes.
thing. People want to be in your life. If you're a singer-songwriter, put a photo on the internet of you at the recording booth. How
Hey.
many photos on my Instagram do you see when I'm at the radio station and I'm just like, "Ugh, rock on," because that's my thing. Because people
Yeah.
go, "Oh my god, that's so cool," or, "Oh my god, is that what it actually looks like inside?" Like a thing?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. Get a personality, and I'm not trying to say that to be mean. Just do it. It's not hard
Yeah,
to have
yeah,
a
yeah.
personality. Be like,
Well,
"Oh, yeah, this is my favorite heavy metal singer, and he crochets in the free time." So could you have you ever seen that viral video of the metalheads headbanging while crocheting and knitting? There's a video of that, and I think that
really?
is yes, and I it's from years ago, but I still remember that video because then it's like, "Oh my god, this music's awesome, and this dude, crochets. I'm a metalhead who likes to crochet. What? It's crazy." And, boom, your audience can grow just like that because not only are they liking the stuff you're putting out there, but they also like you. Like, how many musicians do you know that have gotten canceled over the years? Because even though their music is great, the person sucks. Like, how many people do we know that are like that? Unfortunately, like Kanye West, he started out as this amazing producer and rapper, artist, and all that stuff, and then he just started spouting nonsense. And now
Yeah.
people can't take him seriously.
Yeah.
Don't that's a big part of brand work and being a band, being a musician, trying to get yourself out there, trying to make a name for yourself. All about brand work, and that's what I'm trying to do with radio. It's the same thing. It's what is something that I bring to the table that nobody else who submitted demos brings to the table.
Mm.
Because if I say, "Oh, my sparkly personality," well, they're probably gonna say that too. It's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I forget I have, like,
Yeah.
I
No.
like music." Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So set
Yeah.
yourself out.
Being
And that's
fake doesn't work, and
yeah.
being authentic and vulnerable is what it's all about, and you just explained very logically how theater teachers tried to explain to us years ago,
Oh, I was
when
in singers theater. I
Right,
know
right.
theater
"Ah,
stuff.
you must be vulnerable. You must allow them to cut from you and take from you. And, but what you're saying makes a lot more business sense. The way you're putting it is have a personality, show people who you are. Don't be
Don't be
afraid.
afraid. Yes, don't be afraid to show who you are. I back in my early 20s and all that stuff, like, I went to school, like, when I was 18 at Humber for comedy, and when I got accepted, I was 17, did stand up for the first time at 17. I got accepted, and all my friends in high school were like, "But you're not fucking funny. I don't get it." And it's like, "Well, that's because you guys are really rude and you kinda quiet me down and you shush me and you're not really friends." Because trust
Yeah.
me, I talk to none of them now. But
Yeah.
in my early 20s, it was this whole, like, thing where, everybody just loved hanging out with me, and I was like, "Oh, cool, yeah." But then realized that they weren't actually my friends. They just liked this way I presented myself. And so what I had to realize was, I gotta be real to myself or else I'm gonna keep acting like this, and then it's just gonna be a downward spiral for me. So then I became, drug free. I've been drug free for 5 years now, all this stuff, and I've learned a lot about my thanks. I always say it in passing though, because part of my personality is my honesty. So my brand work is honesty. My personality is honesty, and it's honesty above all else, and that is the vulnerability. So if you are ready to show the world that you like to headbang and knit, then let's do that. Okay? How many metalheads out there have cats?
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah, sure, and
metalheads?
show their love of it, right? Like, show themselves liking cute things,
Yeah.
and, like, show that edge, have an edge, right?
I have a bright pink shirt with a rainbow and unicorns on it that says death metal in bubble letters.
Yeah,
Like, that's kind of what I like. I was just like, "Yeah, be weird. You're
and
weird? We love weird now. Weird? You don't get bullied for weird anymore. Play Dungeons& and Dragons. Be like the guy from Magic Mike who likes Dungeons& and Dragons. Look how many more people wanna be in on it now. Magic the
yeah,
Gathering, it's coming back. Be like,
yeah,
"Oh, yeah, releasing like, buy 1 pack of like, buying a new pack of cards, every day before my song is released. Let's see what I get," you know? There's boom. Like I just gave you free advice for if you're a musician who has a single coming out. Be like, there you go, nerds. Put like and I'm not trying to sound aggressive and mean. I'm just saying it's
you
when
don't.
just do it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
don't
yeah,
be
yeah,
afraid to do it because people like it. And if you and that's also why I'm here. If you need help with somebody who wants to edit it, I will edit it for you and I will post it and I'll make sure it gets the proper promotion it has so that you're not selling it to 5 viewers that are your family members.
yeah.
Like
And I like that that you make that point, that about Kanye before, that there is a line. Like, this is what's so interesting about it. You have to show yourself and be vulnerable, but don't be aggressive or offensive to people. And this is that line where it's like you're trying to make friends with people. You're not trying to push people away, and
yeah.
but you're trying to make friends by being yourself. And
Cancel culture is a real thing, and we should all be afraid of it. And
yes.
I'm not saying that to be facetious or anything like that. I'm saying like everybody's walking on eggshells, and that's why I think people these days are not giving themselves that push because they're afraid to get canceled. Well, guess what, honey? If you have 45 followers, you getting canceled might just bring you right back up there. Look at oh god, what's that girl? The Cash Me Outside girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at her now. Like,
Yeah.
she's now called what? Bad Baby, and has how many like, how much of a net
Yeah.
worth, you know? If the
Yeah.
negative works for you, the negative works for you. Like, "Hey, give me your hot take on Pepe Le Pew, and let's make it work," you
Right.
know?
Right.
Just
Island Boys. Oh,
yeah.
I totally get it. Like, there's yeah, it's that thing. You ride that line, and then, like you're saying, if you're on the other side of it, know it and make it work for you.
Yeah,
Uh,
don't be like the Andrew Tates, Ben Shapiro guys who like the alpha male, like, guys that were like, "Oh, I'm an alpha male dating coach." Like, don't we're calling about the line, I don't mean that. Like,
yeah.
don't be controversial like that. Just say,
No.
like, just have your opinion, but don't be an idiot about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when it's like those people, they might seem like they're really cool and like they have followers, but once you see who their followers are, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't wanna be in that group. Oh, no,
If
thank
that's
you."
your niche, that's your niche, but I'm not gonna be a part of it.
There
And
you
you
go.
want to be able like, look at Taylor Swift. Like, come on, everybody wants to admit they hate her. but and the people who love her, but she's still reaching out to every single person out there. She's not, you know,
Nope.
making her digs in one group specifically. And
Exactly.
now she's like, look at eras.
Yeah.
Like, and every girl there is there because she's representing one of the eras. Like for me, I grew up with the Fearless era of Taylor Swift.
Okay.
2009, I had her CD in 2009. Like
Okay.
that and so like all of her music, she's doing all of that so that every single one of her fans could come out and appreciate that part of her. And
Yeah.
that's great because she has all of this stuff, but she's not what is it called? Like when you're hitting the wall, you're like hitting the roof, you know?
She's not, she's
Uh, she's not putting a ceiling over herself. Like she's
okay,
not
yeah, yeah,
boxing
yeah.
herself in,
Yeah, there
you
you go,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Because I got told that when I was in radio to not box myself in of the fact that I'm a rock girl.
Mm.
Because then with the way I present myself and the way my voice is will only be good for rock radio, you know? Don't be that girl who like when I was doing comedy, don't be the girl who self-deprecates only. Be the girl who can self-deprecate, but also make fun of the audience and roast them and, who can make fun of a social situation or do anything like that. Don't like box yourself in. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are doing that because they're so afraid of not being accepted by everybody. And guess what? You're not.
Mm-mm.
But we could definitely help you get accepted by most people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you can exactly. And I saw that you talked about doing comedy at Humber, the program there. When I was at Humber years ago for theater, I lived with a guy who was in the comedy program there, and he was a newfie, so he was
oh,
out.
what was his name?
Uh, Tim Ronan,
Oh,
and
I know
so
Tim.
yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Funny dude, right? And very dry, sarcastic. Uh,
A lot of male comedians can be like that.
very
They're
dry.
either dry or just putting on a show, and sometimes the putting on the show works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, I do the whole like, so this happened in my life. I won't even joke about what happened in my life. I just say what happened, and people start laughing, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm serious though.
Yeah, yeah, and that gets another laugh, eh?
Because, like,
Sometimes,
I
yeah.
my joke right now is that July, I had surgery. Sucks, happens. Then I had to go back to the hospital the day before I moved into this place. So, I was in the hospital dealing with that, and I have a and currently in September, that was the end of July. In September, I still have an open wound because of this stuff. So my joke
Oh,
is that and then my boyfriend breaks up with me while I'm couch ridden and can't get up. I can't
oh,
even get up to pee. I have to have a nurse come in every single day to like do this thing for me. And then
oh,
I lost my job.
oh my gosh.
And my whole joke is, whatever. They can't handle me with two belly buttons. So what? Like, and people just go, "Oh my god, did that all happen to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine though."
Yeah.
All happened a week before my birthday too,
Oh
which was
my
in August. So it's just like you gotta find where it is where I'm like, "This is hilarious to me." Now I
yeah,
have to make it hilarious to everybody else, and
yeah,
that's a big part of comedy, which is why you do a lot of self-deprecating jokes, but for me, my self-deprecating jokes are like, "I don't give a shit, I have 2 belly buttons."
yeah,
Granted, the one looks like, the scene from Alien when the xenomorph jumps out of the dude's chest, but it's still a second belly button, so, like like,
oh my gosh.
s
Well, humor and, like, comedy, it's absurdity, right? Like, the
oh
things that
god.
are absurd in life, that's often, like, makes for the great jokes, like, things that are out of the normal, that aren't supposed to be, and then, like, we're just supposed to go with it, like, "La-di-da, this is now the norm for me,"
Yeah.
and yeah, exactly. I hope
It's
that that's
making that joke.
I hope
Oh,
it's
I'm
getting
fine.
better. I hope you're
Oh,
that the open wound is healing.
it is healing, yeah, I went to the
Okay.
clinic today, we're good, but
Okay, good,
I have
good.
my bandages and everything, it's just
Alright.
it's just
I don't
something
want
I
you to bleed out there on right now. That's
if I
bad.
was
Yeah.
bleeding, I'd be really upset 'cause that not we'd be back at square one, but no,
Yeah, yeah.
that is a big part of me 'cause that's now my life, and
Yeah.
every time I wear a crop top, we're either gonna see that bandage or when it's healed, you're gonna see that scar, so now it's like, "Okay, time to hit the mole with the hammer before it gets out," you know? Be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, well, what's that for?" "Oh, I got a procedure done where they gave me a second belly button." I just felt like one wasn't enough and I wanted to be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's where you go.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's
exactly.
it's basically accepting like, okay, like, "Oh, my boyfriend dumped me while I was couch ridden. How can I make that funny?" Or
Right,
I'm like, "Oh,
exactly.
this beta bitch, like,
Oh, yeah,
broke up with me because he can't handle the fact
yeah,
that even while couch ridden, I'm better than him." Like, it's stuff
yeah,
like that. You gotta find a way to make it work for you. And then
awesome.
the more confidence you have behind it, and the easier you're able to say it, then that gets the audience. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? But no matter what your brand is, if your brand's just dry humor, you still say it with that confidence and everything, and you say it like at the easiest way you can, boom, it could be a golden joke and
yeah,
it can send it flying. And that's what I love about stand up too, is that it's so endless. And people who get offended when they listen to your stand up, the best part of it is us going, sorry. Like, humor's subjective, not my
yeah,
fault. Just don't
yeah,
try to make your entire set extremely offensive. Play on stereotypes. That's what I like to do. Play on stereotypes. Like, I'm a stereotypical girl that's busty. I play on that all the time. Where I'm just like, oh yeah, I can't look at my own feet when I'm standing up kind of jokes.
mm,
It's like just embrace the stereotype where they have her. I'm like, I'm the kind of girl that drives one handed while listening to her music extremely loudly, and that should be a red flag for you. You know, go with the stereotypes. That's what's funny. And if anybody gets offended to those, bleh,
yeah,
move
yeah,
along. Then don't come to
yeah.
my next show. It's all it is.
Well, you know what? I think that you have built up the right skin, the right attitude, the right lessons. I think you've figured out a lot of things that are great for comedy, great for music, great for entertainment. And I think you need to keep knocking on the doors that you want to get into because it's going to happen. And I also think that bands watching right now should reach out to Brittany and talk to her if you need some help with social media or anything at all to do with music, band promotion. If you're a comedian, reach out to Brittany if you want help with all these things too. Uh,
Not just that, but shows as well. Like, you need somebody to promote your show. I'm trying to branch out into businesses as well. If you are a bar who wants a band to play, reach out to me, like, or you want to, social media, but you don't like doing it. So you're at the point where you can hire a social media manager. Boom. That's what I do. Manager, I can do that. So that's, yeah,
yeah.
all of
So
it.
I will put links below, and so definitely seek Brittany Lynn Pyatt out, Pyatt Promotions. I want
Yeah.
to thank you so much, Brittany, for coming on the show today,
Yeah. Thank
talking
you.
Disney with me, and all the fun things that about music, the nitty gritty of it. I had a lot of fun. Uh,
Yeah. Let me know if you find out the name of the show with the three brothers.
okay, I'm
'Cause
gonna
I can't figure out too, and I'm too lazy to look on Disney Plus to see if it's on there.
I know I'm gonna think of it, like, as soon as we stop talking, but I will put that in the comments below as well, so people will know what show we were talking about. But it is a bit old school, but, I bet you know it. I bet you once I tell you, you'll be like,
I'll probably yeah.
"Oh."
I was gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
like Sister, Sister," but those were the two twin girls, like, no, not 2 twin girls, just twin sisters.
They were
Tia
the
and Tamara, they
Yeah,
were
oh,
in the
I
movie
remember them. Oh, I
yeah, and they were in
remember
the
them.
movie Twitches and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, they're the
yeah.
Lawrence brothers. I know that, like, Joey
Oh,
Lawrence was the oldest brother, and then,
the
yeah.
Lawrence. Oh.
I'll show
Oh,
yeah,
because when you said Lawrence, I just went, like, Topanga Lawrence, but that's Boy Meets World, and
right,
that
that's
was
another
Eric
great one.
Matthews and Corey Matthews and Mr. Finney, and, like, my number 1 crush when I was a kid, Hunter, Sh Sean Hunter, played by Ryder Strong. Oh, man. That was my first TV crush ever.
I
Him,
think
the hair. Oh yeah, and then when I watched like the Scream movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in love with Skeet Ulrich. It's the hair. They had
yeah.
that '90s boy hair, like the sack. Like everybody was like, oh, Zach
Oh,
Morris. And I
the
was like, nah.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas hair. Like,
Yeah,
like, oh, yeah, there was
the
a look.
Hanson brothers probably had it at some
Oh, they
point.
did.
Christian Slater,
At least one of the Hanson brothers always had it
one
for
of the
sure.
Coreys. It was either
Oh,
Corey Haim or like yeah, but no, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out the name of that. I have the show Ed, Ed, and Eddie, but I don't think that's it.
no, but I'll put
The
it in the
Lawrence
comments
brothers.
below. Anyways, thank you so much, Brittany Lynn, and
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
out there for watching. And we'll see you all next time on All Worn Out. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.